Another wave of bank closures is sweeping across the UK. Lloyds Banking Group is shutting down 136 branches, that's Lloyds, Halifax and the Bank of Scotland locations, all in the name of digital transformation. But what's really happening here? And could this shift actually be a catalyst for crypto adoption? Let's break it down. Lloyds Banking Group just announced that it's slashing another 15% of its branch network by next spring, and they'll be left with just 757 branches across the UK. And the reason for this is a shift to mobile banking. But is that the full story? Now, according to Lloyds, in-person transactions at these branches have dropped by an average of 48% over the past 5 years, and some locations saw an even steeper decline, up to 78%. Now, more than 20 million customers now use the Lloyds app to handle their finances, but here's the thing. Does lower foot traffic justify shutting down so many branches? Or is this just another corporate cost-cutting move disguised as progress? And bank closures are not just about convenience, they are actually part of a much bigger shift, and this is one that's leading us towards a future dominated by digital transactions. And this raises a key question, because if traditional banking is moving online, does that open the door for decentralized finance and cryptocurrencies to play a bigger role? Now, with fewer physical locations, customers are going to be nudged into digital-only financial systems, which are going to be controlled entirely by the banks and governments if we get a CBDC as well, especially. But what if people start looking for alternatives? Well, this is where crypto comes in. Now, not everyone can just switch to digital banking. Millions, especially the elderly and the vulnerable, still rely on in-person services. And many people just prefer face-to-face interactions for financial security and support. And there is a lot of campaigners in the UK now warning that branch closures are, making financial services less accessible. And this is forcing some people to travel miles just to access basic banking. And let's not forget that rural communities especially are often the hardest hit. So for those that struggle with online banking, these closures could make managing money even more difficult. But there's another angle to consider, because if people lose faith in traditional banking, could they start exploring crypto as this new alternative? Now, Lloyds have actually insisted that there will be no job losses, and this is because the affected staff that have been working there have now been offered new roles elsewhere. But, here's the reality. Relocations can mean longer commutes or positions that don't fit an employee's circumstances. So, in reality, people may have no choice but to leave. Because we've seen these sorts of patterns before, staff are offered roles, but how many will actually be able to take them? For many, this could mean the end of their career in banking. But this could also be a shift towards decentralized finance, where fewer intermediaries are needed. There is no need for banks in the world of crypto. And it's important to note that this isn't just about Lloyds. UK banks in general have been closing branches at an alarming rate. And over the last decade, thousands of branches have been shut down, changing the way that we actually interact with our money. And with political pressure mounting over the disappearance of in-person services, if you like, one question remains: are these closures really about digital banking, or are they just another way to cut costs? Now, digital banking is convenient, but it also dramatically reduces a bank's operational costs. And fewer branches mean fewer employees, less rent, and lower maintenance costs. But at what expense? Are banks prioritising profits over people? And could these frustrations push more people towards crypto as a trustless, self-custodial alternative? And Lloyds have actually pointed out that they want people to move to alternatives like post office banking. And they've also floated this idea of shared banking hubs as the solution. And for anyone who doesn't know, these hubs allow multiple banks basically to offer services, basic services, in one location. So these are kind of a substitute for a full service branch, really. And it's almost guaranteed that customers are going to end up, if they do use these sort of banking hubs, they're going to end up with longer waiting times, fewer services, and there's just going to be a lack of personal banking support. And especially if you're a business that relies on cash deposits, or even a person that relies on cash deposits, these hubs just are not going to offer the same level of service. So I don't think it's a real genuine solution. I think it's just a PR-friendly way to justify the closures. And at the same time, DeFi, or decentralized finance, is gaining traction because more people are exploring peer-to-peer financial systems, things like stablecoins and decentralized lending protocols as well. And these are systems that don't rely on traditional banks at all. So it really does look like DeFi is starting to look like a viable alternative, a serious alternative. Now, there is one thing for sure in all of this, and that is that banking is evolving. But, not everyone's on board. So what's next? Well, are we heading towards a future where physical branches are a thing of the past and eventually there will be none? That could actually push people to explore crypto and DeFi. And I think it's a point that often doesn't get talked about enough, because the banks are doing a lousy job. And if they continue like this, people are going to look outside the traditional banking system for other things to use that are cheaper to use, faster to use. But I want to hear from you. Do you think that banks are abandoning their customers in the name of efficiency? Or is digital banking genuinely the future? Or could crypto be the answer to this, financial exclusion? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more updates on crypto, regulation, and the future of money. I'll see you in the next video.